Fucking Ben Simmons good.
Well, he's got to get a jump shot. It's like, it sounds humorous and all that, but I'm dead ass serious.
Yeah.
You can't, because if not, he'll regret it. When his career is over, and you look at what he's doing now without that is astonishing. Now imagine you can shoot the ball. What does that open up for you? You don't want to retire. No, seriously, you don't want to retire and look back and go, man, if I just had a jump shot, what would I have done? You don't want that. You don't want that. So I don't care if you have to lock yourself in the gym 10 hours a day. If this kid gets a jump shot, it's a serious, serious problem. A serious, serious problem. To answer your question, the sky's the limit for him. He can be as good as he wants to be.
Okay, so we all know at this point that Ben Simmons has pretty much become each and every NBA fan's punching bag for the absolutely abysmal performance that he put forth in the Eastern Conference semifinals that eventually resulted in the Philadelphia 76ers losing to the Atlanta Hawks. And of course, as a result, many of us are assuming that Ben Simmons might be headed for a trade. Now, what the Philadelphia 76ers did here today was provide some information about whether or not Ben Simmons was going to be traded and what their plan for Ben Simmons was moving forward. So before we get to the content, I just want to let you guys know that my podcast Laced Up is giving away a next-gen console once we get to 40,000 subscribers. All you have to do is subscribe and turn on our notifications on that channel. We're about 13,000 subscribers away there, guys. And now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Last year showed us that you never know what life is going to throw at you, and if you used credit cards to pay for unexpected expenses, it can be overwhelming to manage that debt. So you could take control with Upstart so you know exactly what to expect. Upstart is the fast and easy way to get a personal loan to pay off your debt all online. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get a simple, fixed monthly payment. They do this by finding smarter rates with trusted partners because they assess more than just your credit score. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate up front for loans from $1,000 to $50,000. And you can get approved the same day and can receive funds as fast as one business day. If debt is taking control of your life, it's time to get a fresh start with Upstart. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/Mike. That's upstart.com/Mike. And don't forget to use our URL to let them know we sent you. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Ben Simmons may have by far given one of the worst exit interviews I think I've ever seen. I mean, we covered this in our last video, and I've been one of Ben Simmons' toughest critics because this is a man that has all the talent in the world and is a truly transcendent talent in its own right. But the only thing that was holding him back was a jump shot. And, after 1 year, I said, okay, maybe next year he'll work on his jumper. Then the next year happened, and the next year, and the year after. And at this point, Ben Simmons is like the picture perfect idea of complacency and stagnation. I mean, look at the man's statistics, and you could understand why he's a little bit infuriating, because this is a man that is a jump shot away from greatness. Even the late great Kobe Bryant said that Ben Simmons is just a jump shot away from greatness. So I don't think fans are upset at Ben Simmons for not having a jump shot. I think they're more upset at Ben Simmons just for being complacent. Now, I wanted to make the argument that there's a chance that Ben Simmons is content with where he is. After all, this is a man that is in year one of a 5-year, $177 million contract. So maybe he doesn't want to be the greatest basketball player of all time, and that's okay. But assuming that that's not the case, and assuming this is a man that truly cares about the game of basketball, we need to discuss what his future might hold, and Doc Rivers, Daryl Morey are here to inform us us about Ben Simmons' future. So the first piece of information, this is all coming from Woj, by the way, is Rich Paul went ahead and met with the president of basketball operations of the Philadelphia 76ers, a man that I personally really admire, Daryl Morey, and general manager Elton Brand at the pre-draft combine to begin evaluating the next steps in Ben Simmons' Sixers career. Now, Rich Paul engaged the Philadelphia 76ers on whether it makes sense to work together to find a trade before the start of the next season. So the idea of trading Ben Simmons was floated to the Philadelphia 76ers by Rich Paul. But no request was made, and the sides are expected to continue talking ahead of the July 29th NBA draft and the August free agency. The Philadelphia 76ers are committed to keeping Ben Simmons as a central piece of their franchise. Now, this is big. It means that the possibility of a trade did enter Ben Simmons' mind, and they decided, hey, we're going to try to work together. Now, I want to make something very, very clear here. Before I tell you what Daryl Morey said directly. This exact same situation has happened before with Daryl Morey and the Houston Rockets. I'm going to get to that in a second. I want to tell you what Daryl Morey said in regards to this Philadelphia 76ers team. So in a postseason news conference on Tuesday, Daryl Morey declined to make a definitive statement on the long-term future of Ben Simmons in Philadelphia. Morey said that we have a very strong group that we believe in. None of us can predict the future of what's going to happen in any place. We love what Ben brings. We love what Joel brings. We love what Tobias Harris brings. In terms of what's next, we're going to do what's best for the Philadelphia 76ers to give us the best chance to win the championship with every single player on the roster. Morey also said that I think it's pretty straightforward what certain players need to do to improve.
Ben Simmons.
And then he said, we need to be a better offensive team. Frankly, if we're squeaking by the second round, that just tells me we're unfortunately not good enough to win the title, so we need to get better. So here's the thing. Daryl Morey, I'm going to say this over and over again, he's a man that I truly admire. He's very analytics driven, and he seems to be very aggressive in improving his teams, which gets him a lot of favor with the fans. There has been a point in Daryl Morey's past where he actually was in this very situation. Chris Paul and James Harden played their second year together, and it was not nearly as successful as the first. Of course, there were other reasons why. The team around him wasn't as strong, Chris Paul was dealing with injuries, and I guess when you put two alpha dog personalities in a locker room together, it's really hard to have them coexist after 2 years, I suppose. Just 2 years ago, Daryl Morey was in a situation where Chris Paul may have demanded a trade, and he came out and said that there has been no trade demand from Chris Paul. Tweet that, I said that, print it, tweet it twice. And then, according to Jonathan Fagan, a thoroughly exasperated Daryl Morey said Chris Paul and his reps have never asked to trade him, and he will be on the Rockets next season. He said he and Harden do not have issues with one another, and that he has spoken to both often this offseason about free agency evaluations and plans. Now, that is a lie, because if you guys remember in our James Harden video, according to this Athletic article on the toxicity of how hard the Houston Rockets were trying to keep James Harden pleased, Harden wanted Chris Paul to be traded and for Russell Westbrook to be brought in instead. And then, of course, eventually Chris Paul would get traded, along with 2 future first-round picks, to the OKC Thunder for Russell Westbrook, which was a huge failure of a trade because after 1 year, they had to trade Russell Westbrook following that. So what's my point here? Well, it's the fact that 2 days ago, Doc Rivers came out, and this is after Doc Rivers absolutely gave the most brutal quote in regards to Ben Simmons.
Doc, you think Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become?
Yeah, David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now. So I don't know the answer to that.
But he said, I'm very bullish on Ben still, but there's work. There is work, and Ben will be willing to do it. And that's the key. Sometimes you have to go through stuff to see it and to be honest with it. Obviously, what Ben just went through, I can't imagine that, because he has so much greatness in all the things around him that he does, and there are areas that he can fix quickly, in my opinion, and get better that will take him to another level. Sometimes you don't know why you're in different places, you know what I mean? but this may be one of them. I look at this as a great challenge, but definitely a doable one. Doc then said some obvious stuff that I think we all agree with, stating that we're not hiding that Ben has to become a better free throw shooter and a more confident free throw shooter. If that happens, I really believe a lot of other parts of his game will follow. I said that before the season started, and the first thing I said is we gotta get him to the line 10 times a night. So we've got to put in the work so he can get there. But if we can get him there, man, his game goes to a different level. I believe without going into detail with what we're doing, I believe we know what the right work is, and the right type of work and the right way to do it. You can do the work all the time, but if it's not done in the right way and the right type of work, you may not improve. After being in Philadelphia for a year, I really do believe we've identified what and how, and now we have to do the part. We have to work to do it. It's not going to be an easy job, but it's definitely a job that Ben can do, and I believe that. Here's the thing, man, and I'm going to be honest, there could be a chance that the Philadelphia 76ers are all in on Ben Simmons and Ben Simmons' improvement, but at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked that if the right deal comes Daryl Morey's way, that he wouldn't pounce on that opportunity to trade the 24-year-old Ben Simmons with a loaded contract until his age 28 season if the right offer was presented to Daryl Morey. This is a player that, in my opinion, has significantly more work to do, and after coming out and saying that he needs to be held accountable, well, if you truly want to be great, you need to hold yourself accountable. This is an issue that's been plaguing Ben Simmons for years, and if he wanted to improve it, at least there would be some sort of marginal improvement from year to year. But there hasn't been any, and I don't think there's been a desire from Ben Simmons to improve in that regard at all. I don't think there's any motivation for him either, considering the contract that he's been given. So maybe I'm wrong, but at the same time, just because a head coach comes out and says, hey, we're going to work with Ben Simmons to help him improve his jump shot, and a general manager came out and said, hey, we're not going to trade him, doesn't mean that he's going to be a Philadelphia 76er for the future moving forward. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think's going to happen to Ben Simmons? I think for now he will be a Sixer, and maybe if the right offer is made, he could be moved in the offseason or possibly during the trade deadline. But that's my take on the subject. If you enjoy the content, make sure you leave a like. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.